Hey, thanks for coming back to Donkey Kong Country 3. We are out of Cottontop Cove and can actually get the final boat for our monkey pals. And this one's really cool. We got 2 skis, and that's all Funky needs to make literally the best boat in the entire game, if memory serves me correctly. There might actually be a better one. I don't know. It's been years since I've gotten this far in the game, actually. So there we go. Bonkers. They got turbo features. I realized that I haven't been doing much with the mini games. I think I might just make a whole separate video for that, because they're all pretty weird and disjointed, and I don't know. It's better just have the whole thing focus. Anyway, we can go up waterfalls. That's super fun and exciting. Look at that. And we're going to be going to a world that actually wasn't in the original game, and it's actually a full water world. Last video I said Cottontop Cove was the closest thing Donkey Kong ever had to a water world. To an extent, that's true, because Pacifica, where we're at right now, didn't exist back then. But Pacifica is definitely a water world. And for a world that was made after, like, I don't know, the glory days of, like, Rareware or whatever, it's one of the best, actually. I think it might actually be my favorite in this last stretch of worlds, as weird as that sounds. I think it maybe because I have a fondness for water levels. I'm not totally sure. Has some stinkers. This one stage isn't a stinker though. It's like the only pipe level that's normal. For lack of a better word, like it makes sense. Like there's no crazy control gimmicks. It's just you're in a pipe. Sometimes there is water, and sometimes there's not water. And it's like, honest to God, water stage. With your typical sea urchins. I don't know why there's a trail of bananas leading up to there, because it doesn't lead to anything. So there you go. A couple of weird things happen, like the water going down like that, and actually these fish blend in a little bit too well with the background. I think that's a Game Boy Advance thing. But it's a fun part where it's like when the water goes down and there's enemies above you, then the enemies will actually go down with the water. And that's actually one of the few moments where you can actually hit a bunch of enemies at once and really see how like the difference between the Game Boy Advance roll and the Super Nintendo roll, which is that you don't really start accelerating until your third hit, but when you accelerate, boy, you accelerate. And speaking of accelerating, that's probably like the most fun use of Unguard's charge in the series. There goes Dixie. And it's really cool to do, but it also can really get you hurt, like you see there. So, I still do it anyway. I don't know, it's neat. I think the only other time you get to be so reckless with Unguard is in the second Donkey Kong Country game. I forget the name of the level. It's not Black Ice Battle. It's an ice stage. Whatever. Who cares? Anyway, I think we're reaching near the end. These guys were living underwater and we're fine. Don't think too hard about it. And also the hitbox for the Hitchhogs are actually a lot more forgiving than I originally thought them to be. Now, I don't know if it's nostalgia, but I noticed while playing through this game and just recording these stages and a bunch of the other ones as well, like, again, maybe it's nostalgia, but I feel like a lot of these bonus games are pretty uninspired, even, like, going into these later ones. There's just not a lot about them that makes them, like, really stand out, where if I think of Donkey Kong Country 2, there's some pretty crazy ones, like, oh, you're Squawks and you have to navigate, like, this maze of brambles. And don't ask me for any other inspired bonus stages, because that's the only one I got. But I'm sure there are others. And even though Barnacle is in this world specifically, I think he's in the original Super Nintendo game. I just wanted to go in because he had a shark in the background, and that's pretty crazy. And the people who wrote for him were like very half-baked on his pirate dialogue. Like, he doesn't really talk like a pirate, except he says me instead of I, which is a little grammatically incorrect as a pirate would be, but I don't think they go all the way with it. It's Speaking of good stages, this one stage, I think it's titled Trouble. If I recall correctly, I didn't look at the stage name before looking in. It's got a couple of cool things about it. First thing first, are these TNT guys. These guys are actually unique to the GBA game. They weren't in the Super Nintendo version. The red barrel dudes that explode on impact. I had a whole thing about it, talking about it in Cottontop Cove, but it didn't make any sense. The simple SparkNotes version of it is, those guys were not in the Super Nintendo game, even though their code and their graphics were found in like the Super Nintendo ROM once people started doing some digging. Now the second thing about this stage that's really cool, that background's pretty unique. There's no other dock-like stage that has like that those waves crashing down. I think it's a problem though, because you see the game is slowing down a lot, and that's actually not from recording. That's legitimately like on an actual Game Boy, like this would slow down pretty bad, and it turns what should be... This is a pretty stellar level, all things considered. It's really good, I think, but it turns a kind of a stellar level into a bit of a stinker, because all the slowdown isn't very fun to go through, and it can screw you up a couple times. And it's a shame, just because I like this like darker... I hate using the word darker, it makes me sound like an edgelord. You know, just like this more toned down background. I think it looks nice, and the level design isn't half bad either. And you also get to do this fun thing with the DK guy, which probably causes, this is just my fault, causing the most slowdown ever. And I like doing that, I don't know. He doesn't get hurt. What do you want from me? I don't think there's any DK coins here that are super difficult to get either, but my memory could be serving me wrong. Alright, cool. So that's Stormy Seas, that's what it was called, not Titled Trouble. Sucket Spruce is interesting because it's a tree level, and it's kind of cool because they made like a whole unique background for it and everything. Obviously there's no other tree level in the game. We've seen all of them, I'm pretty sure at this point, from the Super Nintendo game that has water in it, and so here they got like a cool like background kind of showing like a sunken ruins kind of deal. Again, would have been a lot cooler with the Super Nintendo music, but whatever, who am I to judge? It's a pretty standard swimming level, all things considered. Like, there's nothing about it that really stands out too much. It's just cool that they like kind of got creative with it, and it had more like swimming to do in these stages. Unfortunately though, because this is again like the Game Boy Advance, like I just got hurt there. A lot of these hits that I'm gonna get are gonna be for me just not noticing the enemies because they blend in with the background really well. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. Even though you're probably going to be watching this video in a better resolution now, because I've changed a couple of things about how I record these, and that still doesn't change the fact that making out some things can be a little bit difficult. A lot of these stages use the sea urchins a lot more liberally too, which is kind of lame because I don't think the sea urchins are that great. Like, they're kind of like Spinies from Kirby, but... Or no, they're like underwater zingers, except you can still like hurt them, but the hitbox for them is so messed up. The hitbox for every enemy in Donkey Kong Country games is messed up, but when you have something like these sea urchins, where there's like a frame, a small like window frame of hitting them, it's just that much worse. And even if I did have Unguard with me, which I'm pretty sure you can get Unguard in the stage, I just never really went for him, it's still... I still wouldn't try to like get them out of the way. I just avoid them as if they were invincible. And I think if you were playing the Super Nintendo version, it wouldn't be as bad because like the sprites were bigger, so it was easier to tell. But I think the same problem still applies there. And yeah, I totally died there because I swam wrong. Whatever, like, I'm not, that's me. That's my fault for sure. Watching this back, like, this actually has slowdown, a little bit of slowdown too, but I think because I'm swimming in the water, it's not as noticeable. Those three fish that are going crazy to the left block the way to the bonus, but as I said before, not really going out of my way for bonuses. Now, people I know I mentioned this before, people having a lot of trouble before with like swimming in these games. I really would have liked to see what this would have been like in the Super Nintendo version, because obviously like the swimming there was different too. Similar, but different enough that anyone experienced in the games would be bothered. And I wonder like if they built a lot of these levels based on like how physics and stuff like that worked in these GBA games, and if they would translate well. There's probably a ROM hack of that somewhere. I'd actually be interested to see that. Although ROM hacking a level like this one would be hard, since there's no tree levels with water in them. Okay. So this is the first cliffside level, I'm pretty sure. And these cliffside levels, almost all of them are really good. This one is one of the good ones. Like, there's one that's not good, and we'll see that later. It has some problems. The resolution of the GBA and the way enemies are introduced is kind of dick. To be quite honest, like they really pop up from the top out of nowhere and surprise you. But I still like them. The music is so good, and I know some people. The Super Nintendo music actually has. It's one of the few songs that were actually composed by David Wise partially, and it really shows. And David Wise composed this one as well. Super Nintendo one had hints of the Mine music from the second game. But that's hints of that are here as well, but it's not as obvious. And it's a lot more moodier on Super Nintendo too. This one is way more upbeat, and I actually like it a lot more, to be quite honest. I don't know, the beginning of it's just like super cool, gets you pumped up a little bit. Oh, these helicopter guys. Oh man, this is the first time we're seeing them. They're so bad. You don't really see why they're so bad right now, but oh my god, I hate them. You can't kill them, and they're the worst offenders of coming out of nowhere. If you try to jump on them, they'll just bounce off of you, and there's really no good way of rolling into them. I panicked there. I just like went up. I was like, fuck it. Like, let's just go up as fast as possible, and it didn't really work out for me. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, that harmonica in the beginning is super good. Man. And it's actually a good thing that we don't go into bonuses, or I'm not going into bonuses here, since going into a bonus, like, has the music skip forward really far. And there's a part of the song where like it just goes completely silent, and that I don't like. It sounds weird, it doesn't move very well, it doesn't feel right for a game like this. Like, it's weirdly atmospheric, but whatever. Like, it's still good despite that. Here's the weird thing about this part where I died at. So they put a DK barrel to the right here, you know, like you get a DK barrel in case you get hurt. The thing is, the ending of the stage is right here, like to the right. It is immediately here, and it's kind of weird that they would put a DK barrel so close to the end of the stage. Like, maybe they were confident about something, I'm not sure. Okay, Rip Curl Reef is... Boy, so this stage is a doozy. I hope if you are a veteran of these games at all, the leaves on the screen, I guess they're not leaves, they're like seaweed or whatever. They act as like leaves from like Donkey Kong Country 2, or maybe Mario's Lost World, Lost Levels, if you're familiar with that. Basically, you're in a current, and the current goes left and right depending on like where in the stage you are, and it really messes you up if you don't expect it. This stage, the very first time I played through it as a kid, I think I had like 100 lives straight up when I walked into it, and I left with like less than half of that. Like, this took a good 1-2 hours to go through. I'm kind of amazed I've made it. I did die once, I cut that out, but I'm amazed I went through it only on my second try. You'll notice the sea urchins are actually a different color, which is funny because that's the developers acknowledging, like, hey, like, the sea urchins are really hard to see, they blend in with the background really well, so let's make them this really ugly puke green so that they're impossible to miss. I could see why they didn't put that in through the whole game, because these sea urchins are definitely not pleasant to look at. But it's like a strange bit of awareness for them to put that in here and then just never have that be addressed again. This part's annoying. The wind just keeps pushing you back, and it's the end of the stage. There's no reason this should be like this. Rip Coral Reef is like a good challenging stage, but I can imagine like for a lot of people their first time through, as soon as they entered it and saw what it was going to be doing, some people had like nightmare flashbacks to like Animal Antics, and I both despise that and also respect that in a weird way. But yeah, I mentioned like at least one of these levels were stinkers in Pacifica, but actually they've all been good so far. I'm not sure what exactly I would have been talking about. Even Surf's Up, even though it's another one of these like lame toboggan levels, and it's funny they put a barrel there so you wouldn't jump over the toboggan. Even this one is alright. Like again, I don't. The roller coaster levels in the second Donkey Kong are the only ones that were ever good, I think, because they had like real good style to them. Like this one and the minecart levels from the first game are just whatever. Now, speaking of uninspired bonus levels, here's another one. It's just kind of like a course you have to go through, and I don't know, just nothing really memorable about this one. Like, it's not exceptionally hard, and the bonus stages don't have to be. I mean, you still have to find them, and it's annoying to have to restart a level to play a bonus, but there's just something... I just kind of feel like they're tacked on, you know? Just like, I guess we need 2 bonus stages because it's a Donkey Kong game, like, whatever. That's what it feels like. Who am I to criticize a rareware of 2000... I guess... For this particular set of stages, it would be 2004, because that's when all these levels were made. But even back in, like, what one was the original DKC3 release, like, 1996, something like that. Yeah, Kiddy Kong didn't enjoy that. Rest of the stage is pretty standard. It's just like, oh, I'm in a minecart, you gotta go for stuff. Cool. It's literally just the first of these toboggan stages, but harder. And because of that, it's not super interesting to talk about. It can be fun. Oh, it does have this part, though. This is the best part of the stage. It has nothing to do with the toboggans. It's this cool-ass this. Boom. You know what it is. Just killed all those fools with that steel keg. And then Kiddy Kong gets murdered by a bug, and I was like, forget that. I'm not going to be playing through this whole stage again, so I'm just going to move on and put Dixie in mortal danger by trying to get this DK coin, even though I'm not 100%ing the game, because I have a problem. And yeah, just spin through that. Don't even try. Why would you even want to try to get to the top of the flagpole? There's no point to it. That's another thing. They don't reward you for that, so it's like, what's the point? So Barbosas Barrier. This is interesting. Barbos is actually he was actually a boss in the original game. Like he is in the Super Nintendo game, but he showed up in a different world, and a new boss in that world is taking this place, and it makes a lot of sense that they did this. They put the underwater, like, sea urchin boss in the new water world. It totally makes a lot of sense. And this isn't a bad boss. I like this one. It's pretty creative. He's got, like, 3 unique stages. He's got these goofy little, like, I don't know, what are they, squids? I don't know what to call them. They're, like, little mollusky things. They're like squids, but they have, like, shells, which is not what squids have. I don't know. Maybe they're a fake animal. You know, going into them. Gotta make sure you hit him in the right thing. You don't have to hit him in the eyes, but I do for dramatic effect. And his hitbox is fairly generous. This last bit used to trip me up a lot as a kid. I don't know why, because if you just stuck in this corner where I'm at now, it's very easy to avoid it. And he doesn't really go faster or anything. As long as you just stay calm and stick to the bottom here, it's all good. Honestly, a regular sea urchin is probably way more threatening than Barbos is, considering what I talked about earlier. Anyway, that's Pacifica. Real cool world. Really, really cool that they added it, and I don't think they phoned it in. It looks like there was a lot of effort put into it, sans the bonuses, and yeah, just good on you. Next time we'll go to an original, real Steve Gacy free world.